I'm Charlotte Christian with Summit, a divorce and custody law firm. In our practice, we hear so often, what do I do with the house? What's going to happen with the house? Where am I going to live? Where may I live after the divorce? How can I set myself up for success to have a place to be comfortable afterward? We're fortunate to have with us today Chase Horton with Real Brokerage. Thanks for being with us, Chase.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here. Thank you for the invite. And I'm excited to chat with you because I have some questions and curiosity about your process too.
All right, good deal. Tell us a little bit about your real estate agency and what you all provide. I saw that you are a boutique real estate agency in Alabama. Tell us a little bit about what that means.
Yeah, HBH Realty is the real estate team that I'm on, and we're powered by Real Brokerage. That's our brokerage. And we're a boutique and a concierge agency. So that means that we provide all services across the board in-house. It's, if you go to, a lot of real estate agents, they're a one-man show. They have to, go find somebody for this, go find somebody for this. But we have everyone in-house. So we have the title company, we have the movers, we have the contractors who can help with upgrades before we put it on the market. Literally any service that you need, including lenders, we have that all in-house. So we're a one-stop shop.
That is great. So if I come to you to sell my house and my house needs some updates or I need help moving, anything that I need, you guys have that in-house.
We do. Are you thinking about selling, Charlotte? Because I've been happy to talk to you about it.
No. I'm not selling now.
So yeah, we have everything right there. So, I'll bring someone to the office, and when they say, okay, who do you use for your moving company? I'll say, well, come over here, let me introduce you, because their offices are within our office as well.
Yeah, the good thing about that, in my perspective, is that you all can sort of control that too. So if the service is not delivered at the level that you all want, you can control it because they're in-house and you can go talk to them. So you're not just putting them out with a third party who may or may not be able to deliver on a good service.
100%, because anyone that I refer one of my clients to, and I'm very protective of this, is a reflection of me. And
absolutely,
their service is going to be, it's going to reflect mine, because even if I refer them to a moving company, that moving company scuffs up their furniture or drops a mirror, whatever it may be, that's always going to be remembered as a part of the service that I offered. So I want to make sure that everyone involved in my bubble is 100% top notch.
And it's really important to us, and it sounds like it is to you, that when we refer somebody to a third party or somebody even in-house, that we make sure that process is well followed and is delivering at a top level.
Absolutely. And along the way, we've kissed a few frogs. We've found vendors who we probably wouldn't refer to again, but we've been in the business for so long that we've really kind of ironed out all the kinks, and we have a well-oiled machine, and that is priceless. Being able to completely trust everyone within your vendor referral network it helps you sleep better at night knowing your clients are taken care of.
Listen, we all kiss frogs, and I'm sure that all of us have been a frog at some point.
For sure.
Being able to deliver at a high level is so important. Tell us, if you would, what the first thing is somebody needs to consider if they're getting a divorce, and let's say that they're going to sell their house. What is the first thing that they need to do?
Yeah, so if it's already been determined that they have to sell the house, or that it's in their best interest to sell the house, they come to me and we talk about, what is their specific situation, what's going to be the easiest path forward for them, because, I got to think about the fact that their life has just completely changed, and we don't want to have to blow it up any more than it maybe already feels like it has. So we're going to look at the condition of the house and see if it's going to be beneficial to do a little bit of updating before we list, or if it's good to go as is, because presentation is what sells houses in this market. Houses are either selling on day one with multiple offers, or they're sitting for 100 days with price drop after price drop, and that's what we want to avoid at all costs. So it comes down to presentation, and what I like to do is stage my listings, because that's going to make it look so much better.
Right.
I mean, you want to have just the most updated, just perfect furniture, because you don't want to sell a house that's empty. Because when a house is empty, People come in and their eyes are drawn to all the little imperfections and they just pick it apart. But when there's beautiful furniture sitting around, that draws the eye as opposed to, maybe a crack in the ceiling.
So when you're talking about your concierge service, that's a part of it then, is that you come in and you look to see what can I do best to make this house sell?
Yeah, what's going to give them the most bang for their buck? Is it going to be beneficial for them to put a little bit of money here? And is that going to be reflected in the sales price? Or is it better to just, put it on the market as is and kind of bake that into the price?
That makes a lot of sense. So you're not just sending a contract to somebody and saying, sign here and we'll list your house. What's the address? You're actually digging in and making sure that you're setting them up for success from the very beginning.
Yeah, of course, because everybody's situation is different and some people may not have sold a home before. So I have to keep that in mind. I have to meet them where they are. I don't want to have people who have unanswered questions. I want to make sure that I'm guiding them through the process. I'm really not a salesperson. It's not, that we're considered that, but it's not sales. It's really, I'm a guide, and I want to make sure that I'm leading them down a path that's going to put them in a condition that's better than the one that I found them in.
That's amazing. One of our values is leaving others better than we found them, and I think that it's such a key to not only being a good person, but being a good steward of somebody else's property if you're selling their property and making sure that you take care of them. You said something that I want to hit on when you were talking about pricing. Tell me how you price a property, or give me just top points of what you look at to determine what you're going to price a property.
Yeah, of course, this is going to be one of the most important parts that people can tend to get a little bit emotionally attached to, because they, it's their house. And everyone, including myself, oftentimes feels like their house is worth a little bit more than maybe everybody else does because they have it the way that they want it. And pricing a house is really a strategic exercise because the list price is different than the sales price. The price that you list it for is not necessarily the price that it's going to sell for. It could be more, be less. So there are really 3 pricing strategies that I use for listing a home. And the first one is called aspirational pricing. Aspirational pricing is where you list it above market value and you leave some room for negotiation. But that really only works for houses that are extremely unique or they have some kind of celebrity factor. So not many houses really fall into that category. The second pricing strategy is market approach, the market value approach. And that's where I look at everything that has been bought or sold in the last 6 months. I look at the price per square foot. I compare that to the features of that home. And we list it at a fair price compared to all the other homes that have sold around it. And that's the most common approach that's used amongst the entire market. And you can expect to get some fair offers there. But the one that is not for the faint of heart, it can get a little bit heated, but can also really run the price up. It's called event-based marketing, and it's where you list it well below market value and let multiple offers roll in and let them bid against each other and see how high you can get it. And sometimes with that approach, you can get it higher than you expected. So it comes down to the risk tolerance for the client and the condition of the home. So for homes over $1 million, that event-based is really not a good way to go. But the market value approach is really the strategy that I use the most frequently.
So when you're talking to people and they see that their neighbor's house has listed for what you know is probably too high, and maybe in that aspirational approach, how do you explain or educate the person that just because their house is listed for that doesn't mean that that's the best approach? Because, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like if a house sits for 100 days, there's something that needs to be looked at. It may not be that it's not worth exactly what they're saying, but you need to look at it, I think, and adjust your approach some way. Is that correct?
Of course, the market will always give you feedback. If the house has been sitting for months, then that's the market saying it's either overpriced or the presentation is not up to par for the price you're asking. So if the neighbor's house is maybe listed above market value, and it's been sitting for a while, that's an easy one. You know, you say you don't want to be that guy. You want to sell your house as quickly as you can without giving it away. You want to get the most equity you can out of the house, but you don't want to overprice it, because then it sits and sits and sits. And when a house sits for months, it starts to get a stigma. People start to think, okay, what's wrong with it? Why is it not selling? Is it haunted? But yeah, so you don't want to be the one that's having to do price drop after price drop after price drop, because then people smell blood in the water. They think, okay, this person's desperate. We can come in and lowball. And that's, I like to play from offense, not defense.
So when you're pricing and somebody's neighbor has their house priced what you perceive is probably too high, and it's set on the market for 100 days or more, how do you talk to your client and get them to understand the pricing structure?
Well, most of my clients are a lot like me. We play better offense than we do defense. And if the neighbor's house is set on the market for some time, then we typically want to avoid doing price drops like they're going to have to do. So the market will always speak to you and give you feedback. We'll go and walk through some of them and see how the subject home compares. And a lot of times they'll see that, okay, maybe what I'm thinking in my mind could be a little bit aspirational. If, we're not going to set any records in the neighborhood, most likely. If X, Y, and Z are selling for 185 per square foot, then that's going to be a pretty good target. And the beauty with that is that, if you do price the home a little bit low, typically you'll get multiple offers. The market will tell you that, and then they'll bid against each other, run the price up to the true value anyway. So you really can't lose by pricing the home a little bit low.
You said if houses are over $1 million, that's probably not the approach that you would take. If a house is over $1 million, are you taking the middle approach, which is the marketing?
Almost always, yeah, because there's a smaller buyer pool for homes over $1 million. So it's unlikely that you're going to spark a bidding war for that over, listing it 100,000 low. You don't want to gamble with your client's equity like that. So I always, go that middle market approach for homes in that price range.
Last night I was watching the guy who at Shoal Creek has bought the
Sergey.
Yes.
Yeah. My brokerage sold that house.
I was watching, that the approach of how that house was sold, and we're referring to the house at Shoal Creek that was the largest house in Alabama, and at one point in time, I think that house was the most expensive house, or the largest house on the market in the U.S. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think it's over 50,000 square feet. It's got the guitar-shaped driveway. People have probably seen pictures.
Absolutely. What I found interesting was the comments. It was on social media last night, and I was looking at the comments, and people were saying if this house were in Los Angeles or Brentwood, it would be, $300 million instead of what it sold at.
Yes.
I think that's a perfect example of a house where the owner couldn't have gotten caught up in the real value or the emotion of what the value of that house is.
Most definitely. And Birmingham, all cities are micro markets within the overall real estate market. And when you hear on the news, oh, the real estate market is down, they're looking at the country as a whole. That's completely irrelevant to individual clients, because in Birmingham, you get so much bang for your buck here that we have a lot of out-of-state buyers coming in, because New York money, California money goes a long way here. So even though the overall real estate market might be a little bit down compared to 2021, Birmingham has stayed really strong. It's been one of the top 10 cities that people have moved to from out of state. So homes have been selling here very steadily, even throughout the dip that the country's experienced nationwide.
That's good information for sure. Chase, thanks again for being with us. If somebody wants to reach out to you about listing their house or purchasing a house, how can they contact you?
Yeah, you can always, send me an email. It's chase.hbhrealty.net. And I'm very active on social media, so my Instagram is a good place to start, and that's chase.horton.realtor on Instagram.
Thank you so much. We
Thanks for
appreciate you
having
being
me.
with us.